goodness,
Hi,
at least
Pam.
they're a third of us are from Ocala and Gainesville area over there. That's cool at this point.
Awesome.
Hooray, here comes Bruce.
Cool beans.
It is cool beans. How are you doing?
Wonderful, thank you. Trying to stay safe and stay healthy. How about everybody else?
Doing mighty fine. Hey, Bruce.
Hi, Bruce.
Hi, Claudette.
Hi, Alicia.
What are you doing? Hey, Bruce, how you doing?
Yeah, Bruce, I don't
Hi,
see a
John.
microphone showing up there on you. You might see if you got some controls. Keep looking for controls here.
Alicia, how you doing?
Here comes
I'm
Barry.
doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Good, good.
Here comes.
What a crazy couple of weeks, huh, guys?
Yeah.
Hi, Barry.
Surreal. Totally
Yep.
surreal.
Cindy Fulco's coming on, and the Bogdanovich.
Hi, Frank.
Yep.
Hey, Frank.
All right. Well, I thought it was Cindy there, but it's Frank. Okay, I got you.
I'll be quiet.
Hey, Deb.
Hey, Frank.
All right.
Hello.
Good. Did I see Barry got on?
Yep, Barry's on.
Some of you, your microphones are not showing up. I don't know if there's a way you can click your mic there so you can talk with us when we want to do that. I'm going to go unmute everybody again, if that works. We're gathering tonight and got several from over in the center part of the state in Ocala, Gainesville area that are on with us, and they don't have to drive a couple of hours each way. This might work out better, although we miss seeing each other.
We got Frank from the other side.
That's
So
right.
we got him from all sides.
Frank is definitely from the other side. That's,
Easy there now.
I see Devin.
We love you, Frank.
I see Devin has come on here, and Mike.
Mike, Devin.
Mike is here. Good. And somebody on an iPad. Who's on an iPad? If it's working there, I don't see a microphone working on you though. That's all right.
Looks like David and Heather.
Yep.
They're muted.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, that's from Ocala. They're muted right now, and they were in transition.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, Heather.
And Dan Wall is here, and Al.
Good.
Hey, Dan.
Hey, Dan.
Now I can hear it. Okay.
All right. And Mike, welcome.
Hello.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Glad you're here. Glad you're both here. Glad everybody's here. Got somebody else coming in too, and we'll just take a little while here. We've reached 6:32, but you know, we have two main things that we do in the West Volusia group. One is just get to know each other and connect with each other and build relationships and find ways to partner with each other and learn from each other and all of that. So we'll spend a little bit of time as we get started here tonight to do some of that. Frank, what's happening in your part of the world these days?
Hunkering down.
Yep. Yeah.
We're doing all right here, to be honest with you. We went to the grocery store the other day and came back with 100 leads. So we took a wrong turn coming home.
Okay. Yep. And
whatever it takes.
Yep. And Dan, how are you doing? You still out walking neighborhoods and finding people that want to sell their house when it's really hard to do?
We're still walking. We've come down to we were door knocking. Now we're worked down to just walking for dollars, where we're just identifying the houses that need work and stuff like that, as opposed to knocking. You know.
I got you. Getting some exercise while you're doing it.
Absolutely.
Yep. But when you were door knocking in there, you got some leads with that, I hear.
We did, and we're working them.
Good. And we'll find out later that there's several people that have put houses under contract and worked closings, and folks like Frank and Sue have helped them get the closings go through, and it's an interesting time. Well, I see not many others joining us right now. I'll enter them as they come on in here. I've got a poll for you before we get started tonight. And I'm going to launch this poll right now. See if you can see the poll. If not, I'm going to read it to those who are just on the phone with us. And here comes the poll. what are some of your favorite tools for coping with the disruption of COVID-19? And you can choose more than one. This is anonymous. Is it ice cream, taking walks, pizza, potato chips, a drink, meditation, Netflix, and let's see if I can read that other one there. Projects around the house and yard, scripture and prayer, or reading. We got a whole bunch of people here that are taking the poll right now, and we'll see what the favorite kind of ways of coping with the coronavirus is these days. I'm gonna give it another 30 seconds here. We've got 11 of us have voted so far, 55% of us, and some just can't because they're on a phone or can't see this. But we have the poll up there. Ooh, there's several getting out ahead of the others. It's a race to the finish here, the last 5 seconds.
I don't see the poll.
The poll should show up on your screen. Somebody else tell us how the poll is showing up for you.
It shows up like a pop-up on your screen.
Okay. So
I never
some of us
got
are seeing it, some of us are not. Okay, well,
See it.
other than the poll, I'm going to end it right now, and let's read out the results. Here come the results of the poll. So and I'm going to mute everybody at this point, just because we're looking at those in the background there. Hopefully I'm still unmuted. Okay, yeah. So projects around the house and yard, 1, 73%, 11 out of 15 of us are doing projects around the house. If you go to Home Depot, you can tell that's the truth too, because that paint part and the gardening part there are definitely busy at Home Depot and Lowe's. Let's see what came in second. Taking walks, love that one. Scripture and prayer, I of course like that one. And a drink and pizza came as a tie in there. I think ice cream would have been mine, so oh well. Thanks for taking the poll with us, Masood. Glad you're on. Just wave there if you can hear me. Yay. All right, so I've muted everybody, and let me get us going. Here comes Sherry Mason coming in, and somebody else is coming in as well. I've got everybody muted at this point, but Sherry, welcome. And whoever that is that came in on a phone line there, welcome to you as well. We'll do some more connecting with each other in a few minutes here. Claudette, let's go ahead and share your screen if we can make it happen as we move into tonight. We've got a screen, and are you doing that? There we go. Good. So people can see 5 very interesting people. Kind of shake your head, or I like this one. It's kind of happy fingers as a way to exercise your hands there. You can see the screen. So John and Diane, I'm moving from my right to my left because I studied Hebrew at seminary. John and Diane are there, and Ron and Claudette and I, and we're glad to be here, and we've prepared a really good evening, I hope, for everybody. We'll open up mics during part of the evening so we can talk with each other. Glad that you are here. This coronavirus has separated us in so many ways, and it's just nice to see faces tonight and to hear voices tonight, and make some connections and keep learning as well. I'm going to advance the slide there, Claudette. Tonight, John and Diane are our key presenters, and Tom Lehman coming back in. They're going to share with us particularly on repair estimates. They're going to give you some dollar figures of what they see as parts of that and some approaches. And an added benefit tonight is, in the light of the coronavirus and the situation of the economy, what might we make some adjustments as we're doing, making offers and figuring our repair estimates out. So they're going to add that additional value tonight. Claudette, you want to advance the slide? So we have some disclaimers here. You may or may not be able to see that. The disclaimers are basically that I'm not an attorney, I'm not an accountant, none of us are here. We didn't sleep at a Holiday Inn last night either. We're just some people like you that are investors, and like our other programs, are sharing what we understand, know, think, our ideas about things. If there are accounting or legal or other kinds of issues that we raise tonight, please seek out the kind of counsel you would look to make those kind of decisions as you move through your life. Okay, hit again one there. Let me introduce John here to you. John Veitch, Big John, Happy John, Joyful John. John's been investing since 2015. He's built a portfolio of rental properties and checks in on them regularly there. Several counties he works here. He tries to do 2 to 3 renovations each year. John's enjoyment is helping people, helping homeowners, getting that win-win kind of piece out of the opportunities that are out there for him to get a win, and he wants to make sure that the homeowner that he's buying the house also walks away with a smile on their faces. John is active, kind of full-time investor at this point. He works in several different groups. I know he's at CFRI, and he's in a mastermind with me on something else and some others of us here, and also as one of our leaders in the West Volusia Real Estate Investment Group. John has had a corporate career before moving into kind of full-time real estate. He's worked for a manufacturing company as a mechanical designer. Kind of fascinating there, packaging equipment, food and beverage industry. He's owned and operated 2 precision machine shops that work for the space shuttle, built parts for the space shuttle. Cool. And he has 2 U.S. patents in his name. I wonder how many more on this call have U.S. patents that they've developed and gotten patented. John took early retirement 8 years ago to care for his mom. And his mom right now is in a nursing home, and John's having a real hard time because in the nursing homes and assisted living, and maybe some of you have this as well, you can't go be with them these days, and that's really hard on John and others like that. He retired a corporate career as a chief operating officer, design engineer. John, you bring a lot with you. You've done a lot of flips. You understand repair estimates, and we look forward to what you're having to say to us tonight. And our second presenter is Diane. Diane is, again, doing this pretty much along with her being an interior designer. She does real estate investing, a variety of things. Been at this for about 9 years, rehabbed 20 different investment properties. She does wholesaling, holds notes, a variety of different strategies that Diane uses in her investing. She is a consultant with her design background, her sense of art and color and design. She is a professional interior designer, 30 years of doing that, worked with a number of groups. She and Claudette are our primary people on our West Volusia Repair Estimate Group that meets on the Saturdays, or used to meet on the Saturdays. One day soon, we'll get back to that one. Let's look at the next slide about Diane here. Diane has been involved, she says here, with hundreds of construction and renovation projects, many of those as that professional she is of an interior designer. She has worked with architects and builders and a number of clients and hundreds, maybe even more than that, properties, helping them with their renovations. She does design drawings and specifications and furnishings and all the like that comes with that. She's more than a decorator. She's a designer, a professional, accredited interior designer. And she's won a number of awards, Central and North Florida, Parade of Homes. The next one has others there, Builders Conference, Tampa, St. Pete area, Miami, featured in a number of show houses. So we are very pleased to have Diane tonight as one of our presenters. And they're going to come on in just a little bit here. Let's go to the next slide if we can. I'm going to unmute if I can hear Ron, because Ron's going to be watching our chat room. And let me get his, I'm sorry here, I got to work this just a bit. Let me find Ron. Wish they were.
I'm good.
You're good?
Arlen.
There you go. All right, you unmuted yourself.
I can unmute
Go
from
for
my
it.
side.
Tell us about the
Okay.
chat box and the questions tonight.
Okay. One of the things I want to encourage you all to do as you hear the presenters tonight, go down and you can hover at the bottom of your screen and you'll see the chat box. You can go on the chat box and send questions to me or any comments that you have, and we'll read through those at the end. We'll have a Q&A session, and we'll try to get as many questions as we can answered at the end. So if you come across and you have questions, or if you have a comment that somebody wants to make, go ahead and put that on there and we'll share it at the end.
Yep. And Ron, if something comes up that just is really timely, go ahead and break in and share that with us as well. Since everybody's muted, there may be something that's just really timely that we need to bring out before the end. That'd be okay?
Okay, that's great.
Thank you. So let's look and see what's next here, Claudette. So here come John and Diane, and this pound sign, whatever that's about, I don't know. And all of these words jammed together here. I'm 70 years old. I don't know what any of that's about, but I guess that makes a difference here. So this is hashtag Ask John and Diane. And John, I think you're heading out first here. So you and Claudette take it and run.
All right, thank you, Harlan. And I want to welcome everybody this evening to our first West Volusia Real Estate Investment Group Zoom meeting. Diane and I are going to share a lot of information with you tonight, and certainly hope that some of this information will help you all in your investing. We're having this Zoom meeting because we can't get together. We are trying to be responsible group leaders and complying with the CDC and the President's request of social distancing during these uncertain times of the coronavirus epidemic. But just remember that we're all in this together. We're all going to work together, and we're going to get out of this together. So let's all just keep praying for America and our neighbors. Is business as usual? Probably not. But with that said, we need to keep doing what we do best, and that's helping others. There are still a lot of sellers out there, as we know, that need to want or sell their houses. So we need to be there for them, whether you're sending out mailers, driving for dollars, or door knocking. If you're door knocking, I might suggest that you please be respectful to the seller by keeping the 6-foot distance. Remember, we're doing this business to help folks, not to put them in danger. You need to keep your marketing campaigns. Going at this time, certainly. In fact, you may even want to consider possibly ramping up your marketing campaign if you can afford to do so. Some sellers may not want to do anything at this time due to the coronavirus, yet we all get through this, and we will. When those sellers are ready to move forward with the sale of their house, by staying in front of them with your marketing, you will most likely be their first call. Remember, when talking or meeting with sellers, our priority is to listen and get a good understanding of what their motivational needs are. After determining their motivational, you can then motivational need, then you can explain to them maybe how you may be able to help them. Next slide, Diane. These are just a few examples of motivational triggers. Job transfer. They've got a new job and need to be at the new location within a few weeks. Another one is aging parents, especially this time. Strong need to be near their aging parents. Divorce and separations. This is something that happens whether you got a virus or not. They need to sell their house. Then you have people that are facing pre-foreclosures. They're done working with the bank. They're over it. They want to just get rid of the house and move on. And then there may be a big one right now, is the job loss. You hear the news, how many people have lost their jobs. Hopefully they can get their jobs back when we get through this. The banks are indicating that they're going to work with them. We all know how that works. They may give them some relief for 2 or 3 months, but then month 4, they got to pay month 1, month 2, month 3, and month 4. And that's difficult to do when you get behind on 4 months. So there's going to be folks out there that need our help. If you're meeting with a seller with the intention of possibly making an offer, you need to have a very good understanding, especially these days, of the renovation cost. Diane and I have put together a list of renovation estimating costs, and Diane will be glad to share these with you a little later in the call. But please just remember, this is only an estimated guideline. You need to do your due diligence and work up your own personal guideline. The next slide then. Okay. When making an offer, you want your numbers to be as accurate as you possibly can, but don't spend so much time drilling down to all those minor details. You need to feel good about you're making your offer as soon as possible. If you tell the seller that you'll get back to them with your offer, a lot of times by the time you get back, someone else has already stepped in and taken your deal. Big thing is, don't be afraid to make an offer, even in these times. Be as accurate as you can, but remember, you have an inspection period and you can always adjust your offer based on the inspection results if you need to. Next slide. I personally, when making an offer, and when I put an offer together, I concentrate, back to the other slide, I concentrate on the large ticket items, and then I add 10 or 15% allowing for minor details. Next slide. This is some of the big ticket items. I've listed probably 6 of them here. Your roof is a big number. Your AC, electrical panels, windows, flooring, kitchen and bathrooms. That's based on whether you're going to flip or hold. There may be other items as well, like plumbing. Next slide. Next slide there, I think. When scheduling a meeting with a seller, from a mailer that you send out or from a sign for sale by owners, I always do my due diligence prior to the meeting. Prepare yourself as though that you will be making an offer. After meeting with and listening, again, the key word, listen to the seller and determine that they are motivated and your best help could be possibly to buy their house. I then would make several offers. Next slide. Before meeting with a potential seller, I would go to the property appraiser's office and get information about the property, such as the year it was built, the square footage of the property under air, number of bedrooms, number of bathrooms, taxes. Again, you want to take a look and see what is homesteaded, how long they've lived in the house. And you also want to take a look at the permits to see such things as, has the roof been replaced lately or the AC? Next slide, please. After getting the property information, then I would go to Zillow or other websites and research like houses, plus or minus 10% of the square footage, and have recently sold within a half mile. This will give me a good number to calculate my ARV, after repair value. Next slide. 2 of the most important numbers to making a good, accurate offer is a good ARV after repair, and also your renovation cost. Again, renovation cost is important. Next slide. Arriving at the property while approaching the house, I would then look at several conditions of the house, such as roof, for signs possibly needing to be replaced. Next slide. You can take a look at the asphalt shingles. Do they have curled edges or rolled up? Next slide. You take a look at and see if there's any asphalt shingles that have cracks in them. Next slide. Visible aging of the 3-tab shingle. You can see all the light and dark spots there. That's a good sign of aging. Next slide. Take a look at moss growing on the shingles. This is maybe an area that there are possibly trees overhanging, and moss is a good indication that they're moist. There's moisture there. Next slide. You want to take a look at shingles. They're missing granules. Okay, so these are good indications of you may have to replace the roof. Okay. Next slide. I would observe the conditions and or style of windows as well for possible replacement. Next slide. This is the Florida style 4-inch jalousie windows. You can't seal them. So if whether you're going to flip or whether you're going to buy and hold, these really need to be replaced. Next slide. Then you have the Florida style awning windows. There again, they're old. They're used in the 50s, early 60s. They're difficult to seal. So you're going to have a lot of problems with your heat and your air. Next slide. Okay, this is a combination of what they used to build, these large picture windows, and it has the 4-inch jalousies on each side. This again, you need to replace it. Next slide. Okay, when going into the house, especially during these times, I would be extremely careful not to touch anything. I wouldn't even open cupboard doors looking for plumbing problems. Knowing before closing, you're going to have an inspection done, and the inspector is going to pick up these items like bad wood or plumbing issues that possibly need to be replaced. After listening to the seller and his needs of his motivation to sell, I may decide that I would like to make an offer. At that time, I would ask the seller if I may view the house. After looking at the kitchen, the bathrooms, the flooring, again, these are big ticket items. It is my strategy to flip. I would estimate these renovation costs. If my exit strategy is to hold, I may decide to just do minor cleanup or service and work with these areas. For example, another example, if the floors like these photos flip or hold, I would certainly replace. The first one is old linoleum floors. This is something that was used again in the 50s and 60s. I guess even some houses today may have them, but you can see how the edges are all curled up and breaking away from the toilet. They're on the right-hand side, and the other ones is breaking away from the tub. You'll also find these kind of floors in the kitchen as well. Again, it's not good for a wet area, because then you're going to later down the road have floor problems underneath it. So this I would replace whether I'm flipping or holding. Next slide. Ceramic floors, ceramic tile. This has really got to be a judgment call. Here, looking at the picture, these floors look pretty good. So if I was flipping it, I may replace it. Most likely I would. But if I was going to hold it, I would most likely just keep it like it is. We'll look at the age of the AC. There again, if you don't get this information from the property appraiser's website by looking at permits, you need to know these items. So if you're looking at the AC, if the AC is 10 years or older, my flipping strategy I would replace it. If I'm holding it, it's working okay, I may just decide to have it serviced. The same goes true with a hot water heater. In most cases, you can find the age of the AC or hot water heater by looking at the manufacturer's label. Next slide. Here is the label. I know it's hard to see, but here's the label for an AC unit. What's circled there, if you look at the serial number, the first 4 numbers are 0606. This would indicate that this was manufactured in June 2006. Now, this may not be 100%, but in most cases, this is how the AC people are going to identify their ACs. Excuse me. Next slide. If you take a look at the hot water heater, they're a little bit easier because here they actually identify manufacturing date. And on this particular slide, you see where the arrow is at. It's saying this was manufactured in October, the 5th day of 2012. Now, these are areas that you can't look, but if you can't get this information off the tag or you can't see the tag, you can always go to the manufacturer's website and search it on Google. And most of you get their website, and you can go and enter the model number or the serial number. And in most cases, they'll go ahead and let you know by the serial number or model number when that unit, excuse me, was actually manufactured. Again, that's not 100%, but I would say 99% of the time that's the case. Then I would check the electrical panel. Again, this is important, especially if you look into the houses that are, 25, 30, 35 years old. Some electrical panels manufactured in the 50s, even through to the 90s, are considered unsafe by the insurance companies and should be replaced. Some older houses as well do not have electrical disconnects outside the house. You need to know this. If this is the case, when permitting to replace an electrical panel, most area codes will require a disconnect outside. So adding a new disconnect outside could be a big number. So you want to make sure that you add that number when you're estimating your renovation costs to replace the electrical panel. Be sure to include a service and a disconnect outside. Electrical panels that we know for sure that need to be replaced are listed below. And I'm going to go through each one of these, but this is not 100%. These right here should be replaced, but you should also take a good look at the electrical panel. If it's got a lot of rust around it, that means there's been moisture around it. If it seems like it's really old, spend a couple bucks and have an electrician come out and take a look at the panel. Because if it's old, even if it's not one of these 4 brands, you could have some loose wires in there. There again, certainly if it's aluminum, and some houses were built in the 60s that had aluminum wire, these need to be replaced. Now most feeders, the main line coming into the panel are aluminum. These are okay. What I'm talking about is aluminum going out within the house. So here you're looking at a Federal Pacific panel. This is clearly marked FPE. These are panels that have been identified by the insurance companies as unsafe. So you want to go ahead and replace them. The next slide. The next panel is a Zenco or a GTE Surveillance. Now these panels as well need to replace. You look at the picture over on the left-hand side, and you can see what it is the breakers. They're not tripping. So they're overheating. You're going to cause a fire. You don't want to do that. Another panel. Next slide, please. The next panel is an ITE panel, or also known as a Bulldog push-o-matic. These are like push buttons, or they're not you flip them. It's not a knob that you flip. You actually push it. These are considered unsafe. Next panel. Okay. Now, after taking the tour of the property, then you want to determine and try to come up with a win-win success strategy. Estimate your renovation cost and put together several offers. Then I would present those offers to the seller and ask them which one works best. The reason I say several offers, because I think myself and other colleagues that I've talked to, this seems to work better than just giving them one offer. If you give them 2 or 3 offers, they feel they have a choice. They have a selection here. And you really do seem to get better results than if you just give them one offer and they say, well, let me think about it, or I got to talk to my attorney, or some reason they're really telling you no. Okay, so give them a choice. They feel obligated to do something. Okay. Okay. Keep in mind that you need to be accurate as possible with your number. But again, don't be afraid to make an offer. Some of us are so afraid to make an offer, they want to make sure that the number is absolute and you got everything covered. Do the best you can with your number and then make an offer, because you can always modify your offer after your inspection if you miss something, especially if you miss something big. Okay, so get those offers out there. Next slide, please. Especially doing these current times, especially. I would not do a flip if the numbers are tight. I personally don't do them if they're tight anyway. I know some of us do, but during these times, I certainly would not do it if it's a tight number. What I do is I would follow maybe the strategies that I have listed here below. This seems to work for me. It may or may not work for you, but I think that it's a good strategy to follow. And what I do is I would look for calculate my ARV, which is after repair value. Then I would take the current ARV minus 10%, or take 90% of it. And what I'm doing is I'm planning for a downturn in the market. We don't know what's going to happen. Plan for it. Okay. Also, we may be going from a seller's market now to a buyer's market. So you want to plan on your holding costs for at least 6 months. If you can rehab it and you sell it in 2 months, great, good for you. But don't get burned. Make sure your numbers are good. Plan on your holding costs for about 6 months, especially during these times. The holding cost, you're looking at property taxes, insurance, utilities, and loan costs. These could be big numbers. So you want to make sure that you got all your numbers right. Then if I'm looking to flip the property, if that's my exit strategy to flip, I would take the ARV times 60%, certainly not more than 65%, versus our 70% that we normally do. I would use a 60 or 65% minus renovation repair costs. For hold strategy, whether it's a subject to or owner financing, you need to make sure that you're going to cash flow. Okay, so what I would do is I would look at current rental rates in the area, and I would take 90% of that number in calculating my cash flow, especially for a rental. Again, it's important, and I can't express that enough. It's important that you have a good understanding of what renovation costs are. Okay, whether you're going to do a flip or whether you're going to do a hold. Okay, Diane and I have put together a repair cost estimate guideline. Again, it's a guideline, and she will be sharing that with you in detail in just a few minutes. Next slide. Okay, but first, what I'd like to do is ask Ron Duvall to come online with us and talk a little bit about networking during this time of the coronavirus. Ron, are you there? Is Ron here?
Give him a little bit of time here to get unmuted here, and I'll see if I can help.
Okay, but before it comes on, networking is important, and even though we don't get together now with the meetings and
so Ron's on. He's on.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's important you continue to do your networking, and Ron will go over that. Ron.
Okay.
Good,
Thanks,
Thank you,
John.
Ray.
Thank you for the informative presentation. Good job, John. We want to welcome everyone and encourage you to continue to support each other as our world is changing, guys. I've learned so much in just the last 2 weeks, and yeah, it's kind of nerve-wracking a little bit. One of our goals at West Volusia Real Estate Investors is to give members an opportunity to network. And we do that well when we're in person because you can interface and ask questions. It's a little bit more difficult, but I want to encourage everybody to try to connect with people in our group. It's more important with social distancing to stay connected use social media, pick up the telephone. If you have questions about something that you're considering or anything with repairs, don't hesitate to reach out. And it doesn't have to be to one of the 5 leaders here. It can be anybody in our group. Just try to stay connected. We need to connect with one another and to share what is or is not working, and to let other members know about what our needs are. I just got a piece of property under contract today, and I'm nervous because of this situation. I've got another one that I'm going to be closing on next week, and I'm nervous. The one that I want to hold, and the other one is subject to. And I don't know that either one are going to work, but because of the situation, I'm a little nervous about it, and I've already contacted a number of people. During our presentation, I want to reiterate, feel free. I've got a couple really good questions. I've gotten several comments, good job, that type of thing. But think about questions that come up. Dan, if I were giving out a prize tonight, you would get it because you got the first really good question tonight. So thanks, Dan, for sending us that. And as you listen to Diane and we go through the presentation, don't hesitate to click on that chat box and send us some questions that you may have. Again, I want to thank everybody for joining us this evening, and I'm looking forward to getting back to the new normal, whatever that's going to be. Thanks again for joining. Talk to you later.
All right, so Diane's going to come on now and get a little more specific with us about some repair estimate numbers. Diane. You might have to unmute yourself. Try that first, and I'm going to look for you and see if I can get you. There you go. Hi, Diane.
Hi, everybody. How's it? Glad to see everybody here tonight. That's great. As John was talking, we have put together a renovation estimate. It is just that. It is a guideline. There will be some of you who may have found cheaper prices, some of you who may be paying more, but it's based on what we have been seeing in recent months. Now, coming into the future, that could be changing again, because if there is less building going on and inventory starts accumulating and more contractors are looking for work, prices could go down. If the manufacturing supply chain slows down, if people aren't manufacturing, they're not working, and it's not being distributed, then things could go on for a long time. Prices could stay the same or even increase if they become scarce. So we don't really know. It's just, you know, a lot of unknowns at this point. Can we have the next slide, please?
Claudette, we're trying.
Okay. We put together a list of your basic things. One thing I do want to mention on the first one, the roof, and this is a common mistake, is to, when you're figuring the cost of a roof, figure the total square footage, not the air-conditioned square footage. You want to be sure you're including the garage or the carport or the porch overhang or the front entry if it's a covered one, because all of that is going to factor into your costs. Also, if there is additional work needed, like wood repair underneath the shingles, that is not part of this quote. The electrical panel, as John was talking about, we figure 1,800 is an average. It could be more if you have to replace the service panel. It's just, we don't know for sure. Can we have the next slide? I think most of these are pretty self-explanatory. When we get to plumbing, that was not one of the ones that John mentioned in the big ticket items. And the reason for that is sometimes you don't know if the house needs to be replumbed until you have the inspection. And it is definitely a big ticket item, but it is added later. It gives you an opportunity to go back and renegotiate your contract if you find that you have pipes that you have to replace. Most of the things that have gotten replaced, PEX, polybutylene, which is a gray color pipe. It's easy to spot. Sometimes you can get by with that, but what happens is a lot of the insurance companies don't want to insure a house for a new buyer if it has polybutylene piping. There's also cast iron in old homes. You can put a liner inside those pipes and make them work. Most of the plumbers these days are using CPVC, which is a good one. Next slide. Your average kitchen cost, and again, we're figuring about a 1,500 square foot house here. So if you have a bigger house and a big kitchen, this isn't going to cover it. But that should include your cabinets and your countertop and your appliances and the sink and faucets and all that kind of thing. Bathrooms, that does not include new tile. It includes reglazing existing tile, but putting in a new cabinet and mirrors and faucets and towel racks, all of that. Hot water heater, it can be less. I got one not too long ago for $800. It just depends. Next slide, please. Okay, your average flooring, and this, we figure this on the vinyl plank, $450 a square foot, and that would include taking up or laying over. Now, if you have to take up tile, that's different because it's expensive to take it up. If you're just taking up carpet or laminate, that's not a big deal. Paint, your average interior, $1.70 a square foot. That includes your baseboards, your doors, your ceilings, normal patching of picture holes and that kind of thing. Exterior, $2 a square foot.
Diane, what's a square foot? Is that the square foot of the walls in the house and the ceiling? What's a square foot?
The square footage of the house.
Thank you.
Of the house. Doors, you can buy a door for about $80, interior doors, but by the time you have them installed, you're probably going to pay $125. The pre-hung doors, which are the ones that come with the molding around them already built in, are cheaper to install, but they cost more at the outset. So it's kind of a trade-off. It's just faster to install if you buy pre-hung doors. Baseboard, again, depending on the kind, the narrow baseboard or the big baseboards, the prices can change. And then we have demolition, something that a lot of people overlook. There are very few houses that don't have any demolition at all, that you'd have to clear out inside the house or you're clearing out the yard. A dumpster is going to cost on an average $400 to $450 for a big one. Sometimes you'll need several dumpsters. So figure it could go up to $5,000. I've had one yard where it was, the yard itself was $5,000. Landscaping, minimal landscaping, $1,500 to $2,500. That does not include resodding the entire yard. That includes trimming trees and planting some shrubbery and mulch and maybe a couple of pavers here and there. Then you've got all the miscellaneous costs that are easily overlooked, your door hardware and hinges and towel racks, all that kind of thing. I put in 10% for that. If you have a septic tank, it is well worthwhile to get it cleaned out, and that tells you the condition. The clean out is about $300 to $350. If the tank needs to be replaced, that's another matter. Then you're getting into thousands. When you look at the pool, you want to know how long it's been since it's been resurfaced. If it needs resurfacing, that can be several $1,000s. A pool pump, you usually are under $2,000 for that. Let's go on to the next slide, please. Okay. So as John had said, we're presently shifting from a seller's market to a buyer's market. Things could be slowing down. We just don't know how much at this point. But we are figuring it's more than likely that the prices are going to drop 10%. They could go in a couple months down the road up to 20%. It's important for us not to over rehab at this point. Don't let your personal thoughts get in the way and let it cloud the judgment of your numbers. How much you rehab depends on the numbers and what your exit strategy is. If you have seller financing or any other kind of attractive terms, you may want to keep the property and not flip it. If you're keeping it, your goal is to make it clean, functional, safe, easy to maintain, which will make your life easier down the road. If it makes the tenant's life easier, they're going to probably take better care of the property and you're going to have less repair down the road. You want to make it attractive, of course, but on a limited budget, as attractive as you can. But your first objective there is cash flow. If you are flipping and you're borrowing money, then your numbers are more critical. You're not going to have as much competition when you're buying because the iBuyers are gone. And a lot of investors are going to be getting nervous and pulling back. The other side of the coin is it's probably going to take you longer to sell. So you're going to have longer holding costs. So if you're doing a rehab and flip, when you're figuring your holding costs, as John said, figure at least 6 months. Factor this in, all your mortgage payment, your taxes, your insurance, your utilities, your lawn maintenance, your homeowner's dues. If there's a pool, there's pool maintenance. And all of that has to come out of your profit margin. And as you're factoring in that the prices are lower, the National Association of Realtors said they are predicting a 10% drop. In recent years, we didn't have to worry as much about going over budget because the market was always going up. So if we were over budget, we'd still make money. If the market is dropping, your numbers are going to be more important than ever. So we don't need to stop. The goal is not to stop rehabbing, but we do need to be prepared for the shift and take all of these things into consideration. Next slide, please. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about working with contractors and our best practices. When you're hiring a contractor, you're going to get several bids. The lowest price is not always the best. You want to look at their experience, their professionalism, the quality of the work that they've done, the kind of references that they have. Ask a lot of questions and get more than one quote. Some of our very best resources are on Facebook, on some of our closed sites to ask, hey, who are you using for plumbing, or who are you using for this or that, and people that we know are going to give you good information. Another good source for contractors is the Nextdoor website, if you have those in your area. I have found very good contractors on Nextdoor. You want to check that they are licensed and that they have insurance. And if they are professional, they shouldn't have any problem at all with providing you with that verification. Before you hire them, be sure you verify that their license and their insurance. They can show you a license, but it doesn't mean it's current. You want to make sure it's current. And on the insurance, you want to have them put you as an additional insured on the job for their liability insurance. Now, the question on workers' comp. Most bigger companies are going to have workers' comp, like anyone who has several employees, like a plumbers or electricians or people like that will generally have the workers' comp. If it's a small company, they may make themselves workers' comp exempt. And what happens if they have workers, up to 3 officers of a company may be considered exempt. That doesn't mean 3 employees. That means they all have to be officers to be exempt. If they just bring some worker with them, that doesn't mean that that person is workers' comp exempt. W-9, I get one at the beginning of a job. It is so much easier when you're signing their contract or they're signing your contract. It's much easier to get it at the start. It's hard to track them later come next January. And anybody that you pay more than $600 to during the year has got to receive a 1099 if they're an individual or if they are an LLC who doesn't file as a corporation. So by the end of a year, you can have had several jobs with them, and it's even more important. So you want to get that in the beginning. That gives you their employer identification number or their social security number. And you can be fined if you do not file file a 1099 on their behalf. You as the owner of a property can be fined. Okay, when you're getting quotes and when you're signing contracts, remember that a lot of contracts are only as good as the scope of work that you provide. So the more information that you can give them, the more accurately they can give you a quote. There's always ways to misinterpret things. And so if you can do it in minute detail, it gives you a lot more leverage to hold them to it later on. Instead, don't just assume. Things can develop as a job progresses. You know, sometimes things do change, or something that wasn't known before comes up, or something that, you know, looks like a better idea, and you do change it. You have a provision in your paperwork how you're going to handle that, and it's got to be in writing. I will sign their quote, but I also have them sign my contract. And this particularly, if it's a handyman or a carpenter or somebody like that, if you're hiring a company that's a plumbing company, they're going to be pretty explicit on their quotation. But anything like that, I have them sign my contract, and it spells out the scope of work. It spells out a timeline, how they're going to get paid, what, if any, penalties if they don't meet the timeline or they run over budget, or if there are any changes in the scope, how you're going to deal with them, what kind of condition they're supposed to keep the job site in, which is clean every day. And it gives me more control over it. Permits. If you are re-roofing or re-plumbing or changing the electrical panel or rewiring or putting in windows or changing out the HVAC, always get a permit. It's just not worth it to take the risk not to. There are some things that your contractors shouldn't have any problem pulling this permit. It can delay your job a little longer because you have to get inspections, and it does cost a little more. But it's not fun to have your job stopped. If you're doing other things that technically you should have a permit, like for instance, one time I got caught on an alterations permit. Somebody was in inspecting the air conditioning, and they looked around and said, oh, this wall is open, and that's an alterations permit. They stopped the job. So don't get caught doing that. It's you think you're going to save time, save money, but you don't in the long run. Okay, let's talk about best practices. Right now, during the coronavirus, I have a slide down here that GOBA, who is the Greater Orlando Builders Association, put out from the DPPR on job site protection. And they are saying that contractors on a job site are supposed to maintain the adequate distance. There should be hand sanitizer and sanitation stations, which we can provide. We're supposed to keep the job site clean, which we always want, but even cleaner than usual. And sick employees should not be on the job. You need to inquire if anyone has traveled recently, if anyone has any illness, if anyone has anybody in their family that has had this problem. And if so, they shouldn't be allowed to be on the job site. If you have questions, again, consult your attorney and see what, if any, risk you might have from any potential liability if a contractor or a sub is on the job site and is sick and gets anybody sick. Another best practice, create a workflow schedule and give it to all the subs at the beginning of the job. These days we're doing it with Zoom calls and things like that. We're not all meeting face to face, but make sure that each sub knows how to reach the other subs and that they all give you the information, how many days they're going to need, what days they're going to be there, so you don't have people climbing all over each other and getting in each other's way. If they have a delay or something has happened, they can coordinate and work out a schedule. Maybe somebody else has a day where they could fill in so the job doesn't slow down. The big thing is important to us is to get the job done on time, which saves us money. It also saves them money. They're not going to make any money if they're putting in more time than they'd originally planned. So it's good for everybody. And then I update a list once a week of the things that still remain to be done, what's been done, if it's been done, but it needs to go back and have a little touch up, or I make an Excel spreadsheet and I keep track of that every week, and I put on there who's in charge of that. So again, communication, the more I can communicate with them and the more they can communicate with each other, the better it is. So, and again, keep your job site clean, be a good neighbor. Next slide, please. Next one. And there's lots of other people who are saying, back off for a while, but there's lots of our group that are doing business, and we can prepare ourselves to move forward, and we're going to be ahead of the game when all of this is over. And there's going to be a lot of people who are going to need our help, and we are going to be prepared to help them. So don't stop, just know what the situation is, stay current with what's happening, and let's keep on going. And now I'm going to turn it over to Ron, who has been looking at the chat box and is going to have some.
And Diane and Ron, before the chat there, I've got another poll here. Diane and John put together some repair estimate costs, and we just want to do an unscientific poll here. What do you think about the individual repair estimates that they put together for you? So here comes the poll. These are anonymous again. If you can kind of do happy fingers if you can see the poll. What do you think about the cost estimates that they did? Too high, too low, just about right? I'm not sure what other is.
When can Diane and I enter the poll?
Yeah, you can do it multiple times if you want, John.
I think they're all afraid to say. What do you think?
Okay. Well, we got, again, just the honesty here. It's they're totally anonymous. We have 13 out of 24 so far. Give it another 15 seconds. I know some of you can't see it. Some of you are on a phone. We're just, what are people thinking? They're on the call right now. 13 have registered that. I'm going to close the poll here in just a little bit. 14 have registered now. And this isn't about being polite or nice to John and Diane. It's about us working together and listening to each other with this. What did we think about this? I'm ending the poll here and I'm sharing the results. So 80% of the folks out there, of the 25 of us, 80% that took the poll of that said just about right. So 2 of our members here that put together what they thought it was, risks putting that out in front of us. A number of others here think so. A couple of folks thought it was too high, and that could be true too. And I have no idea what other means on that poll, but that's where we are. Thanks for taking the poll, and we're going to move on to Ron now and see what kind of questions we have. Yeah, John.
Harlan, I like to say one thing. I'd say that's excellent. We did that poll, and I'm glad to see that most of the people think that we're right there, but some of them thought we were pretty high.
Yep.
But during these times, I would rather be high than low, you know. So anyway, I appreciate everybody's honesty in that, because you know, our goal as this group and group leaders is to provide, you know, accurate information that you can use in your business today. So I appreciate your honesty on that. Thank you.
Yeah, and John, you and Diane both said in there that people ought to take it, and it will be posted on the Facebook page where you can download that list and there, and will be editable for you. And put your own numbers in there based on what you think it is, and just have that sheet available when you're going and doing your estimates. So Ron, do we have any questions? Let's see if Ron is unmuted, and I am unmuting you, I think. I didn't get it done. I'm going to try again. Ron, can you unmute yourself? There we go.
I think I did.
You did. You did good.
Okay. Bruce, verify their insurance coverage will include the scope of work you want to hire them to do.
Yes, sir.
Dan, you want to make a comment about that?
The insurance coverage that we're talking about is liability, which means accidents on the job or things that get broken that weren't broken before on the job.
Especially employees.
And yeah. And then the workers' comp is the employee injury part of it.
Did that answer the question, or let's just see if we got that one, Ron, there. So the question was about insurance, and Bruce, you got any other comments to clarify your question or your comment or your information?
Yes. Some contractors are running around out there. Have you got insurance? Sure, I've got insurance, but they're insured for doing custodial work, and the guy wants to climb up in a palm tree and trim your trees. So you want to make sure that the work that you're talking to them about is the insurance that they're covered for, and don't be shy about calling their broker and say, hey, I've got Steve over here wants to trim my palm trees. What are you talking about? He's a custodian. Well, that's a problem for you and your client, not for me. Thank you. Have a nice day. That kind of stuff. That's what I meant.
Bruce, excellent point.
That's a good point, Bruce.
Frank wants to add something in there too. Frank, go ahead.
Well, as most of you know, I kind of got burned by workman's compensation. So I'm paying off a fine right now of $16,000 because I didn't have everybody on the workforce with workman's compensation. But if you're hiring a general contractor and they have workman's compensation, and everybody that they hire underneath them, they're responsible for. So if they hire a whole bunch of subs and they don't have workman's compensation, that contractor is responsible for it. But if you go out and hire contractors like painters and tree guys and plumbers and electricians, and they do not have a copy of workman's compensation or a workman's comp exempt form, then don't hire them. You can look up the workman's comp exempt form right on the workman's compensation website and just click in there. It'll say search for workman's compensation or workman's comp exempt. So it's right there, right in front of you. And believe me, I can give you 16,000 reasons not to do it.
Frank, could you post that website on our Facebook page when you get an opportunity so others can see it?
Sure, I have to look it up, but I can do it.
Yep. Thank you. Appreciate that. Appreciate the question, and Bruce, the clarification of that too. John.
Yeah, there's another valid point too about documents, and that's a license. A lot of contractors that tell you, yeah, I got a license, and they show you a license number. Go to Sunbiz and verify that, because their license may not be active. And if it's not active, something happens, you're liable. So there again, with the insurance, also check the license.
Good clarity on that. Ron, do we have another question? Bruce, we'll come back just a bit.
Oh, we have a whole slew of them.
Good.
Dan said, do you require proof of workman's comp for every contractor? Is the first part of the question. And some contractors provide an exemption card which exempts themselves from coverage. So I'm a little confused as to how. I think
Frank?
we may have just covered that.
Frank, go ahead just to clarify that one. And Bruce, you may have some on that too. I don't know.
Okay, a general contractor cannot be workman's comp exempt if he's going to hire somebody. So if he's telling you that, then he's lying out his teeth. A general contractor has got to have workman's compensation for himself, all of his employees, and anybody working underneath him, he's responsible for again. So it all falls back on him. So once you sign up that guy, you don't really care about who's working underneath him because he is responsible. But anybody you hire, you're responsible for.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yep.
Dan, go ahead.
I was just going to add, just to get clarification on that. Let's say I hired a guy to trim my tree. And he says, here's my card, I'm exempt from workers' comp. And he doesn't have any employees. What happens if he gets hurt?
You got to look up the workman's compensation, exempt form online and make sure that he is workman's comp exempt.
Okay.
If he's not, don't hire him.
But if he is, let's say that he is workers' comp exempt, and he gets hurt, who's responsible?
He is.
He is.
He is. Okay. If he has
As long as his exemption is kosher, as long as it's registered with the state. Just
Okay.
because he has one, if the website doesn't say that they agree that he's exempt,
Okay.
that's the key.
And not expired.
Okay. And the second part of that question is, if he has any employees or workers with him at all, the exempt thing is kind of out the window. He has to have a regular policy for those workers to be covered, correct?
No.
Unless they have their own business, and then they have to have workman's comp exempt.
Okay. So they have a workers' comp exempt card or insurance for every employee. For every
Exactly.
person on the job.
Exactly.
Yes.
There
Okay.
can be up to 3 people in the company that are exempt, and they all have to be officers.
But if they
First time
have,
I've ever had this question answered in 5 years.
if they
Thank you.
have 3 employees total,
Well, in
they
5
have to
years,
have comp.
I've had this question 15
realize
times.
$16,000.
So Bruce, go ahead and repeat that, and then Frank, come back in too. Bruce, what did you say?
If they have 3 employees, they have to have workers' comp for everybody. The owner can still be exempt because they may not be a job site supervisor. They may not be, I know we're beating this one to death, but he may not be climbing into the tree to prune the branches. So he
Right.
can be exempt, but any of his guys that are manning a lopper or a chainsaw, whatever, they got to be covered.
And Frank, you had another point?
No, I'm just saying, this isn't something you fool around with. You're guilty until proven innocent on this one here. And if you want to play games, let me tell you, they go back through 2 years of all of your records, bank accounts, taxes, your record, your bookkeeping, everything. 2 years. And I know darn well coming up in May, I'm going to get hit for another audit. I just got a gut feeling on the way they do. So I'm telling you, dot your I's and cross your T's. This is not something you want to fool with. You may not get caught, but when you do, it's going to be very expensive.
Very good. Dan, thank you for
the IRS and the DOL.
But there is one bright thing, okay? You don't have to pay it off all at once. You can pay it off over 5 years with 0 interest. So if that makes you feel any better.
All right. Thank you for that.
Don't be late on your payment.
There you go. Thank you, Bruce, Frank, Dan. Good question. Follow up on it. Everybody appreciate that one. Let's see what other kind of questions we have, Ron.
Okay. David and Heather says, what was the website that Diane mentioned for the contractors? You said there was a website you go to check on contractors, Diane.
Sunbiz is one of them.
To find contractors, I think they're after, Diane.
Or to find contractors. The Nextdoor website, and that's like a neighborhood thing for subdivisions. And a lot of the Facebook groups where your investor friends hang out.
So the Nextdoor, NEXTDOOR, is just a neighborhood kind of thing. Facebook groups in your communities, another good place to do that. Are there some other sites where you can find contractors or others?
Yeah, and people are very free to post if they don't have a good experience. So they'll,
okay,
you'll get all kinds of information.
Good pointer there. Hope that helped for that question. Ron, what else do we have?
Okay, here's one. It says, from the old insurance guy, get a certificate of, and for WC, get workman's comp, get a copy of the exemption.
Okay, so get some paperwork in your hand there, just like Diane said with the W-9, get that up front. And then everybody on this one has said, go check it, not just take the piece of paper.
Right.
It could be out of date, it could be a fraud, it could not have the right name on it, it could have all kinds of things.
Yeah. Dan said, make sure the name on the W-9 matches the name on the contract, and of course, name on the check you pay them with. The other thing too, and Diane, I picked up on this, but when I hire somebody, there's 4 things that I get, and one's a W-9. I even get a W-9 from people, I'm trying to think, not independent contractors, but there's somebody you don't have to get a W-9
like a corporation.
In corporations, but I still get those. I ask everybody for one, and I keep them as a record. And then when I do my 1098s or 1099s, I take and I put them all together. So if I'm ever audited, whoever filled it out, if they checked the wrong box, I'm covered as long as I have that. So if I didn't file one and they mismarked it, it falls back on them, and I didn't realize that. Do you understand what I'm saying?
But yeah, I hear what you're saying, and I
Yeah.
also heard what Frank says, that you're guilty and still proven innocent. So be checking and watching, even if you might be on the right side of it.
There's been different schools of thought from different CPAs on whether you need to get one from an LLC. I do. My CPA has always said yes.
Can I comment on this?
Please do, Dan. Yep.
Yeah, as far as W-9s go, I think this thought is coming from whether you have to give a what do you call it, a 1099 at the end of the year.
Right.
If they're anything but a
LLC.
Nah, what do you call it? Doggone it. Independent. If they're an LLC or if they're a corporation, you don't have to give you a 1099. If they're a what do you call it? A single person.
Sole proprietor.
Yeah, sole proprietor.
You have to give a 1099 at the end of the year, but that has no. It doesn't matter whether you got to get a W-9 or not. Get a W-9 on everybody. Make them tell you who they are.
Right.
And then you can decide from that piece of paper whether to distribute a 1099 or not. But always get a W-9.
Yes.
And then Diane's point, Dan, was get it early, because you might not be able to find them in January when you need to Need to
Oh
submit.
God, as soon as you issue that check, you're not going to get any paperwork. So
There you go.
get it ahead of time.
All right.
That
Frank,
also tells you a lot about them. The ones that are reputable are going to be very easy to get them
Right.
immediately. The others are going to stall.
Frank wanted to say something here, and I don't see everybody's raising hands, but Frank, go ahead.
Okay, on that, Dan, that was a very good point to make. I hired a guy to remove wallpaper, and I did not check his credentials close enough, and the corporation was in him and his wife's name. And his wife had workman's compensation, and I made the check out to him, so I had to pay workman's comp on him too. So if you're gonna make the check out, make it out to the person that's supposed to be receiving it.
Yep, build your paperwork. Yep, and follow through on it. Ron, any other questions
We
tonight?
already said that.
It says, Masad asked, what is the Facebook address? And I'm not sure what Facebook address he's referring
Claudette,
to.
our Facebook page is what, Claudette? Do you have that out in front of you?
The Facebook address is West Volusia Investors Group.
Real estate investors or what?
Real estate investment group. Yes.
Investment or investors?
I think investors. Yes, it is investors.
Okay, so it's West Volusia Real Estate Investors Group. Hope that answered your question, Masood. Ron, any other comments, questions?
Yeah, oh yeah. Alicia said, the resources you provided tonight are very useful. Thank you. And then John said, hi, Ron. I'm wondering if everyone in this group is aware of the SBA programs available as part of the CARES Act. If not, I will put something together and send it to you to send out. Then I recommend talking with your banker and accountant about the funds available for your businesses.
Okay, John, you want to unmute yourself and just tell us what you're talking about there? I know what you're talking about, but not many others do. There you
I
go.
think it's
Welcome,
a different John.
I know, it's a different John. It's
Yeah,
John
sorry.
Stafford.
John Stafford. Go ahead, John.
Well, yeah, good evening, everyone. And Diane and John, both, thank you all for this very informative information tonight. So over the weekend, I've been reviewing, I heard about these two things. One of them is called the Paycheck Protection Program. So if you have employees and you've been, obviously impacted by this COVID situation, you can apply through your local banker or in some cases directly through the SBA for a loan. And you can use it. Let me read what it says on the SBA website really quickly here. It says the loan will be fully forgivable if the funds are used for payroll costs, interest on mortgages, rent, and utilities due to the likely high subscription. At least 75% of the forgiveness amount must have been used for payroll. So if you have people on your staff, it's a way of you being able to maintain your payroll. And these loans are basically low interest loans through the SBA. The thing about this is, from what I understand, the way it's going to be is you calculate your payroll for 2019, divide that by 12, and then multiply it by 2.5. So it gives you 2.5 months of funds to take care of your payroll. I believe it's deferred for up to 6 months, and then you provide the documentation to show how you use the funds, and then you can get that forgiveness from the bank. So that's the
Great,
payroll
John.
protection program under the CARES Act. The second one is called the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. This happens all the time if there are hurricanes or anything like that. However, because of now it's considered a disaster across the country, you can apply for, I believe, I don't remember the exact amount, but I think it's somewhere up to the amount of like $5 million or $10 million.
I think it's $2 million, but it's a lot of money. Yeah.
Yeah, it's $2 million. However, you get an advance of $10,000 that you don't have to pay back You can actually go directly to the SBA site and apply for this. And why I say talk to your accountant, because you can't mix the funds. I mean, there's some specific things on how you can use each one. So, however, the $10,000 is an advance that you can use for your business. Although if you have rental income that you expect to be losing, that sort of thing, that's $10,000. And from what I've been hearing in several, I attended a national RIA teleconference on Friday that they talked about this. I'll send out the link to the copy of that recording. From what I understand, if you have more than one LLC, you can actually apply for each LLC separately.
So this may apply to us. Check with your accountant, your attorney, somebody else. Go online and search it. It is, because the act was put together so quickly, there's a lot of unknowns on these and some regulations and difficulties. You can check with your bank on this as well to see about that payroll protection program. There's some amazing benefits out there. The government wants to put money out there and keep people from losing their jobs. It is a first come, first serve on a number of these, so get out there and do your research. And many of us that have LLCs actually can get into this as well. You don't have to be a big company or have employees, and you can count yourself as an employee if you operate that way. So get out there and get at it. John, thank you for raising that. Did I mention anything wrong as you understand it?
That's how I understand it. I'm going to send Claudette the link to National RIA. Like I said, they had a teleconference on Friday that talked about this. That's how I came across it. And then
Wonderful.
It's been circulating in some other groups with some attorneys who have put out some things to help small businesses. So I'll send Claudette the link.
We were on with our attorney last Thursday on this too, and got some good counsel on it. So well done. Ron, other kind of questions we have tonight?
Is there a set procedure to follow in the scope of work when scheduling contractors? If so, please share.
Diane.
Yes, I get the hard things done first, because if you have to open up walls, for instance, to repipe, and they're going to cut into the walls, well, you want to get that done early. If the roof is leaking, I get the roof done first before I start doing any interior work. Wiring the same way. You know, you don't want to close up walls. You don't want to have painters in there until the hard things are done. After the paint is done, then, and everything else is ready, then I put the flooring down. And then if there are baseboards going down, I put baseboards. Excuse me.
So Diane, there is an
cabinets.
Order. So there is an order to think through, and some of that is, if you think it through, it makes you make your own sense of what is the order of things that are getting done. Yeah, good one.
You don't want to mess up something that's already been done to get something else done. So you want to do it in that order where if you think you're kind of working down, you know,
good.
You don't want to keep cleaning up things.
There you go.
Okay. Then Frank says, I wanted to say that John and Diane did a fantastic job tonight. Very informative and accurate. John Stafford said, great information by John and Diane, and a great points by Bruce. James Canada, yes, great info as always. Way to go. Sherry Mason, thank you, Diane and John. Nice job. Bruce said sunbiz.org, and I think what he was doing is checking on people's license and to make sure that they have a license through Sunbiz. Steve, not to overkill the insurance, but be added as an additional insured on the liability insurance. That way the company is required to notify you if he cancels the policy. Steve Fouts, you are a rock star. That's what Bruce said. Alicia, John and Diane, thank you. Great job. Sherry Mason, Diane and Claudette Holland, too, of course. I didn't get all of that. Some of it didn't come out. And Claudette and Harlan too, of course. Okay, they're adding to that. Bruce said, Diane, John, Harlan, very good presentation and informative. Thank you for all your efforts. Very informative gathering of the West Volusia RE Investors Group. Good information for us. Charles, Gary, and Nancy McKinney. Then Frank Volko to everyone. And my Florida, he's got.
Ron, let me break in there.
Okay, websites.
If people go in and open up the Zoom group chat and do a right click while you're in it, you can select all or select pieces of it, copy it, and paste it into a Word document or something, and pick up any of the pieces that are in the chat there that you might find helpful as we go.
It's on your Facebook page.
Yep. Okay. And Frank's got some things on the Facebook page there.
No,
too.
that website's on your Facebook page.
Okay. And there'll be others that we'll be posting there. Claudette, walk us through some other resources here while we wrap up tonight, if you can.
Sure. Well, before we even came onto this meeting, I attached all these to a document and attached it as a download on our Facebook page. So the first one is similar to what John Stafford was talking about. This is a little different though. This is from the uschamber.com. It's a guide for small businesses during this time of uncertainty. You can go there and download an emergency guide and checklist.
Excellent.
Now I'm having a little bit of issues with turning pages, so I'm just gonna, I also put on there about talking to sellers and how to keep in contact with them. I give you some ideas about online marketing. Main thing is to stay current on your social status online. Unfortunately, I cannot turn the page. There you go.
There you go.
So social media is very important during this time that we're to stay away from each other and stay home. So use your messenger services, use Facebook Live, LinkedIn, Instagram. Facebook business page is so crucial right now, and it's widely being used to talk to sellers. Post more and increase your online visibility. And one huge thing is ask for referrals from your past clients. Because that's going to give you your best way. Send out greeting cards. I know Frank would tell us to do that. Send out greeting cards. Easter's coming. Send out an Easter card. Just say, hey, thinking about you during this time of uncertainty. Here's some more. The Florida Department of Business and Professional Regulation, Diane touched on that a little bit. Here's some resources that you can get as an app on your Apple phone. As far as Android, you have to go to the Google Store. And then the website, these are the websites for that you can get your professional licensing. So Florida License and SunBiz, that was talked about tonight. That's also on that downloaded document. And these are links directly to those websites. And then John talked about going to some of the county clerk's office and the property appraiser's website. Since we are primarily in West Volusia, I just put down the the Volusia County clerk's addresses and the property appraiser's address. If you're going to a different county, of course, these are going to be different. So you're going to have to look those up. But the main thing is with this coronavirus, these offices are closed. So go to the websites and see when the office is going to be open. You may have to do things, a lot of things online now. So get comfortable with doing things online. That's the main thing. Don't be afraid that you're going to click on something and it's going to mess you up, because it will probably ultimately take you back someplace and you'll just have to start over again. So those are some of our tools and resources that are, again, I posted them on the Facebook page before we started this meeting, and so they are there. And once I get that information from John Stafford, I will add that to an additional doc and just update the Facebook page with that crucial information.
And I think the Chamber of Commerce page will have what John was talking about there and links to that as to Claudette. I've looked at it. Claudette,
Okay.
thank you for pulling those tools and resources and getting them on the Facebook page where people can download them and have links to them and work that. What's next tonight? I guess I'm back on here. I want to say thank you. We had 25 participants on. We got 22 still on right now. Thank you. Thank you for all that participated. Sorry I didn't get to say hello to everybody initially there. Stay connected. We probably will do 2 of these a month here. We'll do our normal first Monday night one, probably again in May, and we may do one in place of our repair estimate thing. We're not sure what date, but look on the Facebook page for that also. Thank you for being on tonight. God bless you all. Take care, be safe, support each other. Let's go out and help some sellers and help the real estate market during this time. Sure appreciate it, everybody. There you got a picture of all that have been on. Use the Facebook page to communicate. Appreciate it. I'm going to be signing off here and signing everybody else off. There will be a recording of this. Thank you, Sherry. There will be a recording of this. It'll take probably till the morning to get that, and we'll post the link to a YouTube video so the recording will be there if somebody wasn't able to get on tonight or you want to go back and look at something. Again, thank you, everybody. God bless you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you, everyone. Be well.
Oh,
Thank
thank
you.
you. So
Bye.
much,
Bye.
everybody.
How are
Stay
you?
safe.
Indeed.
Stay
Well
safe.
done tonight.